Welcome to the YouTube channel Phone Mania. So in today's video, we are going to compare the iPhone 14 Pro Max versus the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra. So guys, this is the iPhone 14 Pro Max 256GB in the gold color. So I was looking for the purple, that means the deep purple, which is a theme color, but actually, unfortunately, the deep purple was sold out and it's only available for the pre-book members. So I managed to buy the gold color, and you can see the golden frame as well as the golden rings around here. So it's a matter of personal preference, and I just started to like the iPhone 14 Pro Max in the gold color, and this is obviously my favorite burgundy color. Let's get started on the build and design. Now guys, let's get straight to the most interesting part. That's the camera. So finally the iPhone got a much awaited 48 MP main camera for the iPhone. So that's the sensor shift stabilization is also available, and over here we are getting 108 MP main camera with laser autofocus with OIS and all, and then we have a 12 MP ultra wide, which is same on both. Then we are getting a 12 MP telephoto with 3x optical on the iPhone 14 Pro Max, and we are getting a 10 MP telephoto with 3x optical, and then we are also getting a 10 MP periscope telephoto, which is capable of 10x optical and 100x digital zoom. Wow, that's really great. Then we are getting a TOF camera, which is also there for the depth detection of the videos and all, and also the portrait photos and all. Okay. So guys, iPhone 14 Pro Max versus Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra camera comparison. So this is the portrait mode, which is taken on both, and it is taken on One Max versus the normal portrait mode on iPhone 14 Pro Max. And you can spot the difference in the skin tones. You can see this is the exact color, or I would say even pale color than my real skin. So this maintains a natural tone versus it is a light vibrant on the Galaxy S22 Ultra, but not oversaturated. It's perfect vibrant eye pleasant photos on the Galaxy S22 Ultra. Let me show you. This is the shot on both, and you can spot the difference really quick between both of them. So it's a personal preference. You can observe the shirt color. So this is a pure white on the light color on the S22 Ultra versus it's a bit pale if you compare to the S22 Ultra. And you can see another scenario, same thing repeats, and this is a shot which is taken on 3x, and you can see same scenario repeats. See, so again, it's a matter of your personal preference. So if you are really into the natural color tones, then your iPhone would be your personal preference, or it's like your light vibrant colors, then the Galaxy S22 would be perfect for you. The front selfie cameras, and you can see again the same thing, the natural skin tone color versus a light vibrant tones on the Galaxy S22 Ultra. You can see both of them, and if you really observe the hair of, you can see the hair strands are perfectly visible on the Galaxy S22 Ultra with the maximum detail. So guys, next is the rear camera photos, and you can see this is struggling a bit with the HDR. You can see the sky tones are a bit different on both of them, and you can see this area is overexposed on the iPhone 14 Pro Max versus perfect on the Galaxy S22 Ultra. And let's check another shot. So you can see this scenario also, the HDR fails to manage on the iPhone 14 Pro Max really well, and you can see this area is underexposed, you can see, and over here the S22 Ultra manages really well. And if you really observe the details, let me zoom in a bit so you can see. So you can see a lot difference. So this area is almost underexposed versus this is perfectly visible on the Galaxy S22 Ultra. So that's really good. The HDR management is really good on the Galaxy S22 Ultra. See another scenario. Let's take a close look and see. And if you ask me, both are really good, and I would say the iPhone 14 Pro Max is getting really close subject versus Samsung is not really getting. So that's need to work on that. And if you ask me the yes, in this area you can see the Galaxy S22 Ultra is a bit better than that of the iPhone 14 Pro Max. You can see in this area the iPhone 14 Pro Max doesn't manage to get that areas really well, or we can see it's underexposed a bit, but the iPhone 14 Pro Max managed to do it really well. You can clearly observe the details over there, versus it's almost blown out on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. See another scenario of the HDR management, and you can see clear difference between both of them. So you can see entire areas blown out versus perfectly visible. Even it is in very struggling situation because the direct sunlight is coming to the camera, so it's a really struggling situation, but S22 Ultra manages the HDR and everything really well. So that's a clear win for the Galaxy S22 Ultra in both these struggling situations. So I really like that. Now let's move to some close-up portrait shots, and you can see the difference. Actually, the colors, again the same thing, natural tones versus the light vibrant tones, as you can see in both of them. And if you observe really close, you can see it can get really close subject. Actually, the flower is not really good in good condition, and it's perfectly visible with good amount of detail on the iPhone 4 Galaxy S22 Ultra. But the iPhone 14 Pro Max can zoom bit more further, but it is misses detail, almost getting pixelated. You can see this difference, and if I just adjusted the same level, you can see still the Galaxy S22 Ultra got lot detail, including this tone area and all. So that's a really good win for the Galaxy S22 Ultra. Another scenario of the close-up portrait, and you can see difference. Wow, S22 Ultra almost nailed it, I would say. So you can see, oh, it misses out detail. And let me go back to the same location and let us observe these leaves. So you can see even the texture of the leaves with this good, and even you can see the wetness of the leaves, but actually on the iPhone 14 Max it doesn't manage to do it well. So it's another clear win for the Galaxy S22 Ultra. See another image of the car where exactly the thing goes same. The colors, you can see the difference between the colors between. So this is really vibrant versus the exact tone with the iPhone 14 Pro Max. So it's just a matter of personal preference. Which one do you like is basically your tone, your preference. You natural tones, just pick up the iPhone. Vibrant, eye pleasant, perfect Insta ready upload, that means social media ready upload shots is available on the Galaxy S22 Ultra. And the thing is, you could even that means adjust the settings on the Galaxy S22 Ultra for, and same with the iPhone 14 Pro Max for better shots and all. But actually this is the default settings, I mean most of the time which I have taken, and I have adjusted the portrait mode to the natural, then to the studio mode for understanding the best out, and everything I have analyzed everything, and I felt like the Galaxy S22 Ultra is better in terms of the overall photos. So guys, are you ready to get surprised? This is the area, that means the action mode on the iPhone 14 Pro Max is literally one of the best. I would say even better than the gimbal stabilization which was available on the previous some of the phones. And I will first of all I will show you the Galaxy S22 Ultra. And you can see a light wobble on the Galaxy S22 Ultra at some areas, even in the steady video mode. And you can see this is light wobble here and there, but actually I was running really fast. If I you can have the camera sample later, that means video samples later, and let me play this video. This was same speed which I'm running with the Galaxy S22 Ultra, and you can see, okay, oof, it's been oh, nothing, not even single shake on the iPhone 14 Pro. That means it's nailed the show, the iPhone 14 Max action mode. And next it's gonna be checking the cinematic mode versus the portrait video mode. So guys, next is cinematic mode. As you guys can see, the iPhone 14 Pro Max has got a really good natural background bokeh over here versus the Galaxy S20. It feels like it is taken on a phone with some artificial blurring, and also the edge detection is seems fine, but it feels like an artificial blurring, as well as the natural depth detection is not available as we've seen on the iPhones. So in terms of cinematic mode, 4K at 30 FPS, the iPhone 14 Pro Max is doing an incredible job, and I would say it's an YouTube upload. That means if you're a sort of influencer, then this is a YouTube ready shot. You can just literally upload to the YouTube. That means that much perfect shot. That means with the natural, almost DSLR like output on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Okay, ask me which one is best, then I would say in terms of the photos I would give a win for the Galaxy S22 Ultra, and in terms of the videos, especially for the cinematic videos as well as the action mode, just simply awesome. The top best camera for the videography is the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Superb. And if you directly compare these two of them in terms of the portrait video versus cinematic mode, actually the portrait video, the depth detection or the natural bokeh is not that great in terms of the Galaxy S22, but the natural bokeh which is available almost close to DSLR like natural bokeh, along with the perfect edge detection, everything is superb with the cinematic mode on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. The rear camera video stabilization, excellent rear camera video stabilization on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. The action mode, oof, really great. That means I ran really fast, I jumped up and ran everything. The video was perfectly stable, awesome implementation of the action mode. Oof, that's really nice. And if you compare the steady mode of the Galaxy S22 Ultra, it's also, if I run really fast, it also manages to keep stable, but in comparison this is really ahead of the steady video mode on the S22 Ultra. So that's a really great. And the Galaxy S22 Ultra is better in terms of the photos, especially in terms of the normal photos. That means 180mm modes. The detailing which is available on the Galaxy S22 is really great. Also, it has got a 10x optical and 100x digital zooming is really good on the Galaxy S22 Ultra, as well as dynamic range, as well as the HDR is really good if we compare with the iPhone 14 Pro Max. That's another reason which I pick the Galaxy S22 Ultra over the iPhone 14 Pro Max. In terms of the portrait mode also, I do like the Galaxy S22 Ultra in terms of the photography. Okay, now let's go a bit reverse. Actually, we are super excited and we first check out the camera. Now it's time for the build and design. So 7.9mm versus 8.9mm thickness on the Galaxy S22 Ultra and 7.9mm on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. And if you ask me about the weight, actually 240 grams over here versus 229 grams on the Galaxy S22 Ultra. And if you ask me, not both are not evenly distributed. Actually, in the top load, actually both the heavy in the top load, and because of the cameras, I think it's a bit heavy load on these two phones. And if you ask me, the iPhone has got the stainless steel frame and the Galaxy S22 Ultra has got the aluminum frame. And in terms of the front protection, actually the iPhone uses scratch resistant ceramic glass as well as oleophobic coating, and over here it uses the Corning Gorilla Victus Plus protection on the front. Okay, and as well as the protection rear is also the Corning Gorilla Victus Plus. And regarding the IP rating, both are IP60 dust and water resistance on these two phones. And also the Galaxy S22 Ultra has the advantage of the S Pen, which you would just literally take out the S Pen when the screen is off and you would write instantly over there and it saves. So you can see it saves right there, and just pull up the camera, and that means pull up the S Pen inside and it's saved on your Samsung Note. So that's a really cool feature for the Galaxy S22 Ultra. And next is regarding the what we call in-hand feel. Actually, you can see this has the square type of borders. That means I feeling like I'm holding some sort of glass piece or glass slab or something related to that. So but over here you can see the back glass just blends to the aluminum frame, and the front display is also light curved. So that means the in-hand feel of the Galaxy S22 is really good if I compare with the iPhone 14 Pro Max. It feels like I'm holding a glass slab, and actually it becomes comfortable after holding for approximately nearly 5 minutes. It becomes uncomfortable, but actually it's perfectly for the in-hand feel, as well as it's really comfortable in the hands. Okay, now let's move to the displays. So 6.7-inch display on the iPhone 14 Pro Max and 6.8-inch on the Galaxy S22 Ultra, and both are stunning displays. And this is a proper quality display, but this stays in between Full HD and Quad HD displays. And regarding, you can see the dynamic range which was hyped around the internet. So guys, the Galaxy S22 Ultra versus the iPhone 14 Pro Max, and you can see the clear difference between the color saturation. The Galaxy S22 Ultra is really vibrant if you compare with the iPhone 14 Pro Max. So if you ask me how much is the difference, approximately I would say about 5% difference is in between there. Actually, the colors of the Galaxy S22 is really vibrant. If you really observe this green color, actually green is really sharp on the Galaxy. So let's observe the red colors. You can see this red is really sharp versus a light pale on the iPhone 14 Pro Max in comparison. And you can look at the red color. So this is a deep red versus a sort of soft or a pale red. So in terms of the display, it's a clear win for the Galaxy S22 Ultra. And the next thing is obviously the dynamic, and actually distract some of the people. Actually for the first few days I actually have been distracting with the island, and actually now I am getting almost used to the dynamic island, so it's now not an issue. And you can see it's even lower than the normal notch as we've seen on the 13 Pro Max and all. And regarding the S22 Ultra, it's the best because just 40MP camera in a very small selfie camera, 7.5 shot, so that's fine. So in terms of the display, I would give the win for the Galaxy S22 Ultra. Okay. Dynamic element developers also started working out on the dynamic elements for making it more useful and fun oriented, and you can see it, Hit the Island is a game which make use of the dynamic element. You can see so already the game developers said so after few years it's gonna be really interesting than this which is available right now. So the dynamic is island is gonna be more interesting, and if you use some applications like clock and you set up the timer and you just swipe up, you can see that portion would be dynamic island would be useful for that stuff, and you can just tap over here and instantly the application would be there. So it has some useful features, not a purely gimmick, but still it is a punch whole dual cutout for the cameras, and they have just make use of the software to not feel weird. So that's a really nice implementation from the normal cutout. Okay, so guys, this is the iPhone 14 Pro Max lock screen. No, this is the iPhone 14 Pro Max always on display. I repeat, always on display. And I will just give a tap. This is the lock screen. This is always on display. Again, lock screen, always on display. So all they does is they upgraded the lock screen to few factors, like as we do the eye filter mode, eye comfort mode on the Android phones, it gives a filter to the color. The current color will be dim, or it make use of the low brightness and so on. So they done is they just put the refresh rate from 120 straight to 1 hertz, as well as they just dim out the brightness a bit further down, and as well as they also make use of some colors to make this feel really dim at every time. And the main thing I noticed is whenever I use the always on display in the room, it uses the sensors to detect the light in the room temperature, and once I put on the light in my room, actually the always on display seems brighter, and once I turned off the light in according to the light, it makes dimmer. So every time it is also using the sensors, so it may consume the battery, but I use it personally, and to be frank, I experienced about 10% to 8 to 10% more battery life if I just turned on the always on display. So it is not using much, but it's fine for most of the people. And the next annoying thing which I felt about this is the always on display of the Galaxy S22 Ultra. And whenever I just receive some calls which I missed, actually immediately if I miss some calls or I receive some messages, it would be turned on like this. But when I start using the iPhone 14 Pro Max, instantly every time this screen appears, so I always aware, yes, does some notification arrive? I would check, no. Okay, does some calls I just miss some calls? No. So every time I got attention to the phone a bit more than usual. So that's one of the annoying thing I felt. Apart from that, it's purely personal, so it's may not be applicable to you. So apart from that, I do like this features on both of them. Peak brightness. So 2000 nits of peak brightness versus 1150 nits of peak brightness. Yes, obviously this would be better. Yes, that's it. But the direct sunlight visibility of the Galaxy S22 Ultra is still great. You couldn't face any issues. But if you compare them both, you can see the iPhone 14 Pro Max is better because actually the colors are a bit more vibrant, sharp output on the iPhone 14 Pro Max rather than compared to the S22 Ultra. Not a big difference, literally less than 5% or 4% difference between these two of them in terms of the peak brightness. Okay, next is the stereo speakers. So both these two phones have the stereo speakers, but the Galaxy S22 Ultra have the advantage of Dolby Atmos. So guys, let's get started from the Galaxy S22 Ultra. Now it's time for the iPhone 14 Pro Max. So guys, the thing is the iPhone 14 Pro Max loudness is great, better than that of the Galaxy S22 Ultra. But the thing is, I would repeat the audio to give a clear cut. S22 Ultra. Make use of the clear crystal elements. That means the bass, audio, everything. And now you can hear from the 14 Pro Max. So the thing is, the crystal-like elements, that means the clarity, that means what we call the quality or the audio, or the crystal-like elements of the audio is more visible. That means the cling, the crystal-like light minor elements is more visible on the Galaxy S22 Ultra. But in terms of the loudness as well as the bass audio, the iPhone 14 Pro Max is better. So overall, in terms of the audio, I would say the iPhone 14 Pro Max is better. But the thing is, if I turned off the Dolby Atmos on this guy, and the clear winner in terms of the loudness, quality, and the crystal-like elements is the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Once I turned on the Dolby Atmos, the crystal-like elements was better on the on the Galaxy S22 Ultra. Okay. This is the processor. So if you compare these two of them, the Apple A16 Bionic versus Snapdragon 8 Gen, obviously high intensity graphic games is done better on the Apple A16 Bionic, which is the latest. Even the Apple A15 Bionic performs better than the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 and the 8 Plus Gen 1. So you can think of how much does this go Apple A16 Bionic. So in terms of the high-end peak performance, the Apple A16 Bionic is really good, and also the graphic performance. And if you ask me in terms of the gaming as well as the heavy camera usage, I would say nearly around 45-50 minutes mark, the Galaxy S22 performs really good, and after the 50-minute mark it gets really fun, as well as it can be seen some minor frame drops over here on the 8 Gen 1. And if you compare with the iPhone 14 Pro Max, it performs almost the same, and even you could get more peak performance than the S22 Ultra on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Also the graphics quality is really good in terms of the gaming for the iPhone 14 Pro Max, and overall 1 hour or even more gaming is not an issue for the iPhone 14 Pro Max. And the next issue is regarding the warm. Actually both gets really warm, but in comparison, actually the S22 Ultra gets really more warm than that of the iPhone 14 Pro Max. And in terms of the outdoor usage, both gets really warm on the outdoor, especially outdoor video usage on these two of them, especially nearby 20 or 30 minutes both gets warm. So that's not a overheating, but you can say it as a light warm issue in these two phones. Okay. Next is regarding the Face ID. Actually it has got the Face ID. You can see this phone is now locked, and let me show you. So it's, you can see, unlocked, again locked, you can see. So it's really smooth like butter. And if you compare the Galaxy S22 Ultra, it has got the ultrasonic fingerprint scanner. You can see, wow, works really fine. See, smooth. And in terms of the face recognition, it's locked right now, unlocked, again, once again locked, unlocked. Okay, so in terms of the fingerprint scanners as well as face recognition, this is really good. But in terms of the face recognition, I would say the that means Face ID versus face recognition, obviously the iPhone 14 Pro Max is better, nor even in the extreme dark light conditions it works fine. And in terms of the, depends on the light conditions, it is still a bit slow than the this type of Face ID and all, but it has the reliable ultrasonic fingerprint scanner. If you compare with the ultrasonic fingerprint scanner versus face recognition, I feel like both are almost fast, and it depends upon your preference whether you like to just have a finger on the screen just like this, or you can just look at the phone like this. It's your personal preference. Okay. Next is the UI. So this UI can't be compared directly because this has got the Android skin versus this is iOS. So, and this is the one UI 4.1 is currently running on the Galaxy S22 Ultra, and this has got incredible level of features as well as customization, as well as what we call the Samsung Dex, Samsung Pay, one-handed usage. Everything is perfect on the Galaxy S22 Ultra. So that's really good. And not all apps which is available on Play Store is not available on the Apple Store and all. So you should keep in mind that too. And regarding the iOS, if you are already in the ecosystem, then this would be super awesome because it syncs with your MacBook, AirPods, as well as watches, iPads. Really good. That means if you're a sort of influencer, you could just record the video, the cinematic at 30 fps, and you can just airdrop to your MacBook, and just by tapping, and you can edit the stuffs in the MacBook, and you can just tap it back, and you can have it on your phone, and you could either upload or you could share, you could do stuff like that. So it's really convenient if you are within the ecosystem. So if you are not within the ecosystem, and if you are a heavy user, then I would recommend the Galaxy S22 Ultra. The battery and charging. So iPhone has got 4323 mAh of battery versus 5000 mAh of battery on the Galaxy S22 Ultra, but it can't be directly compared because the iPhone's battery is really ahead of the Galaxy S22 Ultra. To be frank, I am in between average user to heavy user, so I was getting around 20 hours with the Galaxy S22 Ultra and almost 28 hours. So in direct comparison, I could get 2 hours more on the iPhone 14 Pro Max if we compare to the Galaxy S22 Ultra. Okay, so that's a really good. And in terms of the charging, 45 watt versus 27 watt, so this is perfectly more faster than this guy, and you could charge this guy at around 58 to 1 hour, and this guy needs 1 hour 35 minutes around for to getting full charge on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. If you ask me which one is best or which one is my personal preference, I would pick the Galaxy S22 Ultra. Let me conclude everything. So in terms of the build and design, I really like the Galaxy S22 Ultra because of the in-hand feel of the phone, and regarding apart from that, everything is really good on both. And regarding the displays, actually the dynamic range as well as the color vibrancy on the Galaxy S22 is really good than the iPhone 14 Pro Max. And in terms of the speakers, iPhone 14 Pro Max performs slightly better than that of the Galaxy S22 Ultra. And then in terms of the cameras, for the photography, I prefer the Galaxy S22 Ultra, and for the videography, especially for the cinematic as well as the action mode, I prefer the iPhone 14 Pro Max. And in terms of the high intensity graphic games, I prefer the iPhone 14 Pro Max over the Galaxy S22 Ultra. And in terms of Face ID and fingerprint scanner, I just give a tie. And in terms of battery and charging, battery for the iPhone 14 Pro Max and charging for the Galaxy S22 Ultra. Overall, I am not in the ecosystem of the iPhone 14 Pro Max, so I would prefer the Galaxy S22 Ultra. So yes, that's all today. Signing off. It's Phone Mania.